Good morning, everybody. Welcome to another episode of WCM Fireside Chats. I'm Brian Searle. We're going to eventually do a behind-the-scenes video of one of these shows so you can see all of the crazy things that we deal with, including me not having my speakers set up correctly this morning. And so everybody was waiting on me, and we thought we had crazy platform issues. But anyway, we're live here. Super excited to do another show for you guys. We're going to talk about glamping today, right, Ben?
Yep. Yeah, it's going to be, it's going to be pretty exciting. Well, why don't we let them introduce themselves? Because it might be a little bit easier that way. I'm not for sure if I remember some of their last names and their titles with the company. I know I'm horrible.
Journalist. You're supposed to have all this stuff in your head. Like you know it.
It's all supposed to be upstairs, but
it's the back of the hand, right? You're supposed to know it.
I'm getting older, so and some of our guests may not know who we are. So maybe Brian Searle's already introduced himself from Insider Perks. Kara from the Canadian Camping and RV Council, and then me, Ben Quiggle from Woodall's Campground Management Magazine. And then why don't we start with Dennis? And Dennis, just tell us which company you're with.
Okay. Good morning. Hey, really nice to be here. Appreciate the opportunity. My name is Dennis Steinman, and I'm the CEO and founder of Plainscraft Covered Wagons.
Okay.
So we're in Topeka, Kansas, and looking forward to this chat today.
How's the weather in Topeka?
It's cold.
It's cold in Cleveland, too.
We're outside loading wagons on the semi to send them out back out west, and it's about 25 degrees. So.
All right. I'm glad I'm in Ohio then. That's a little too cold for me.
All right. And then John, introduce yourself a little bit. Tell us about
Sure. Good morning, guys.
Yeah.
And I don't know if we can beat the cold. We're at about 11 degrees here in Montrose. So John Gibson, CEO and owner of Colorado Yurt Company. And we're excited to be part of the conversation this morning and interested to hear how things are impacting the rest of the team. We're definitely recognizing the growth in our industry and sometimes outpacing our ability to produce. So let's see if that's happened to other people.
John, is it warm inside your yurt? Like it looks kind of fluffy at the top there.
You said fireside chat.
Oh, you got a fire. Like see, we have one guest that goes, he's on a week and he goes above and beyond, Quiggle. Like, why can you not have a fire? Why is this not a thing?
I can't do a fire inside my house. There's no fireplace.
Build one.
I could.
Does a fake fire count?
Yep.
I mean, a fake fire is better than what Quiggle's got.
Where's your fire, Brian? You don't got a fire.
I'm not the namesake behind the whole thing.
I'm not the namesake. Kara at least she has a Christmas tree.
Yeah, I got my Christmas tree.
You got a Christmas tree.
Yeah.
So,
all right.
So and then Cameron Wyatt, just tell us a little bit about your company. It looks like I've never heard of Glamping Resorts before, so just tell us a little bit about your company.
Yeah, so I'm the president and founder. We're a real estate investment firm and operator based out of Saskatchewan, Canada. So we got into the industry 2.5 years ago. So we're relatively new, and we are acquiring campgrounds and converting them into glamping resorts. So.
Okay.
Awesome.
Yeah, and I mean that's just been down here. We've been seeing a lot of not only just glamping park developments, but we've also been seeing a lot of new companies moving into the sector and buying up resorts and adding glamping sections to the campgrounds. So, I mean, it's just really taken off. I think that's kind of what we wanted to talk a little bit about today, too. I guess in Canada, what's the glamping sector look like up there, I guess, is, are you seeing a lot of it?
Mostly, but okay, go ahead.
Yeah, well, it's really new, right? I mean, in Canada, it's really undeveloped, and we've seen the trend in Europe, we've seen the trend in the U.S., and it's been exponential there, and we believe Canada is going to be the same way, and we're just a bit ahead of the curve. So,
okay, yeah.
So, what makes you uniquely positioned to take this Canadian market to where it isn't yet?
We're really strong in marketing and sales, and that's our biggest thing. But better yet is our brand, right? And where we're going. We're a real estate investment firm. We've got a big network of investors capital that want to push forward, and we're working on acquiring more campgrounds and eventually becoming a REIT is our business plan. So it's
Nice.
we just love the campground space and are excited to participate with everybody. So
How many parks do you have so far?
we've just got one right now.
Okay.
It's a 600-acre resort, 229 sites. So we're just getting started.
So when you talk about like a glamping, so do you have any RV sites or anything there, or is it all going to be glamping like accommodations eventually?
Our concept pairs luxury RV resorts with glamping resorts. So we're a bit of a hybrid compared to, in the glamping industry, as we view it, is really, really young. And, you've got the aspect of straight glamping, right? They're just fixed roof accommodations. And there's a lot of really nice resorts in that aspect. Our concept is a little bit more unique. We repair campgrounds as well. So our sites are minimum 75 feet wide by 100 feet deep, 200 amp power, super water, as well as all the amenities. And we view glamping as more of an experience fixed in with, the fixed roof accommodation aspect of, domes and treehouses, tents, and everything that we're going to talk about today. So.
Did you say 200 amp power? Is that what you said?
Yeah, we do. Yeah, there. It's our lots at Buffalo Pound, our first resort, are all individually titled. So SAS Power, which is our main utility, the minimum amperage there on an individually titled basis, so that they could get a meter, was 200 amps. Our typical resort will be 50 amps. So, this one's just a bit unique, so because it's sale property.
And I liked what you said about the experience because, it does have a lot to do with the experience that the person has. I mean, you can put up a yurt anywhere, but I think like glamping takes that experience to the next level. So not only do you have the yurt, but, you have the experience of where the yurt's placed and some of the services the campground owners provide.
Fireplace inside.
Yeah.
Well, and imagine like Christmas time with 200 amps, how many lights you could put on the outside of the yurt.
So I guess, John, is that what you kind of talk to campground owners about when they're looking at yurts, about the experience that they kind of provide with the yurt as well?
Exactly. We supply yurts, teepees, and tents, and really looking at the campground owners about how they're going to create an experience that's not only unique to the industry but unique to their property. That could be the view that they have. I'm sorry, you guys getting a feedback?
Tiny bit, but
yeah, I get a massive amount of it. Let me see if I can try another speaker here. The amount of opportunities that each campground has is pretty impressive from the standpoint of what you can provide to the visitor to the property, as well as what you can put in the yurt itself, whether that's different types of bedding, different types of interior furnishings. It might be the experience of the location and the view that they have, or even just the solitude of the site that you can put together.
Yeah. I mean, it's, I think people are looking for like a natural, they want to get away but they also want that luxury experience, and they want something unique. Like, a yurt really does that. I think a Conestoga wagon, like what Dennis offers, a wagon, like what Dennis offers, does that. And like some of these tents that we're seeing. And I mean, I think they even have bubbles now, which are really neat.
Ben, do you remember the last time we had a vendor show and I had all these kind of crazy ideas for the vendors? I feel like there's an opportunity for that yurt right there to be like an old Roman bath at a campground or something. Yeah, like a steam bath.
Well, we have opportunities where people are using them as maybe a hot tub room. We're using them as a 30-footer that might be a area for people to congregate. And might have a 28-foot teepee that's got a live fire in the middle of it, that people are able to stand around during cold situations. So, and I'm sure, if you're looking at the different property types, you're seeing people do themes within the property. So you might have the section where the wagons are next to where the teepees come through. And then on the other corner, there might be some yurts that are set up, and then the tents around the other side of it.
Yeah, definitely. I know what the wagons. So let's bring Dennis in here. I know what the wagons they create. Some parks create like little circles of the wagons, right? Where they have like a wagon circle kind of.
Is anybody else hearing feedback, or is that just me?
Yeah, lots.
Bad.
Okay, I don't know. Is that coming from Ben, maybe? Or
I don't know. Is it coming from me? Does it get
I
better
think
when I mute myself?
Yes, it does.
It sure does.
Yeah. All right, we're good now. We'll just continue like this, I guess.
I'll just unmute myself when I talk. But
Might work for all of us.
yeah, that'll work. So Dennis, so I guess they create like little circles out of the wagons, right? So at some parks, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely. There's a lot of ways to do it, and
oh, we can barely hear you, Dennis. I'm sorry. Maybe it isn't Mr. Quiggle. I don't know.
can you hear me now?
Yep, I can hear you now. Yep.
Better?
Much
Yes.
better.
Yep.
I need to talk a little louder, I guess. So, yeah, the wagons can be, like was just mentioned, can be a part of a lot of other structures to bring, variety to the park. They can be put in circles. Sometimes they're lined up different ways. The old circle the wagons idea with maybe a fire pit in the middle. It brings back the nostalgia from the old settlers that crossing the plains. So these wagons, the way our approach is to build wagons that are very simple, very plain, all the way up to wagons that are very, all the bells and whistles. And our approach, we're kind of thinking that the unique experience is a big deal. It's really what this thing's about. The comfort level, then, I believe, providing a situation for the people that want it this way to have comfort, to have, really the amenities at home. So we've kind of developed a more elegant offering as well as this, in addition to the simple inside of the wagon. So we put bathrooms, air conditioning, heat, real nice furniture, so we can do it. And we have an interior designer here who happens to be my wife. And so she works with clients who want us to help, and we can really trick these wagons out. So, I don't think they're better than teepees, yurts, whatever, but they certainly add another dimension and another very interesting experience for people's guests.
Yeah, Dennis, I don't know if you're finding what we're finding, which is we don't necessarily want to set up a campground that has just one theme. The ability to have different structures and different reasons for people to come back really makes the recurring revenue from the same customer a heck of a lot better.
Oh, yeah, good point. Well, it just depends on what the camp wants and what they want to try to do, and and their audience, their market probably has a lot to do with it.
Do your wagons have washrooms, Dennis?
I'm sorry?
Do your wagons have washrooms?
Yes. Yes. We have in our bathroom, which we call a bathroom, has a shower, a vanity, and a toilet. And we can set these up different ways. Everything from composting toilets to regular flush toilets, if the infrastructure is there at the campground. So, and you can just pull them in, plug them in, and pull them in the park pretty much, a little bit of setup, and you're ready to go. And then if you want to move them, you can.
That's one thing our guests have really raved about is, they really want to see that. So that's why I ask. So.
Yeah, there's all kinds of ways you could theme a park around that too, right? So like you were talking about how it replicates the old experience with the West, right? Like traveling across in a wagon, like that was super dangerous from what I've read, right? Like you could get robbed really easily. And so you could probably recreate that for checkout time for the guests who won't leave, right? So all kinds of different ways we could have fun with that.
Oh yeah, sky's the limit. It's whatever your imagination can dream up. But in the old days, we've all seen the Western movies and stuff where they circle the wagons for safety. They circle the wagons. Everybody's in a little community, and so if a park has a group, it just makes a nice, quaint little
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So, yeah, they're really cool.
And I think that's part of the connection too. Like, when people are out camping, they like to connect with people. I think maybe some of that holds true with glamping. I don't know. Obviously, if you're a newlyweds trying to get away, maybe you don't want to connect with people as much. But people still like that connection, and they want that experience. So these wagon circles are great ways to bring groups of people together. So. But I think we did have a question just about financing. Somebody asked, do you guys have any suggestions on how people would present a glamping park idea to a lender?
Well, we're in the Wild West for the wagons, so I feel like they should rob banks or something for that part of it. But the other two, I'll let them take the answer.
Maybe a 6-gun or a double-barrel shotgun might help.
Yeah.
Well, I think if with any business, and I know some of the other guys here are owners and founders, and we all have had that experience, I think. And financing comes, it's not easy. Getting investors, finding investors for early rounds in a business that the startup business is tough, and bank loans are tough without collateral and all those kind of things. But my thoughts would be that try to get some folks involved, maybe a advisory board or someone that has some clout, and bring that to the party. Let them help you. If you can find investors that are what we call smart money, which are people that not only bring money to the party, but they also bring experience,
knowledge in the industry.
Yeah, as opposed to what may be called dumb money. Here's the money, go do it, come back when you make me a bunch of money, which is good too. But smart money is good. It will help you get into the banks, probably help you run your business better. And then you have to have a plan, have a real solid plan to get financing and to convince people that you have done your homework and you know what you're doing. And then you might consider starting small and getting a track record. Track records are so important with investors or banks, as we all know.
Yep.
And if you bring in if you're the founder, if you can bring in a co-founder that has some experience, some clout, all those things can help. So I've done some consulting in the past, and I've been involved with some startups. So if anybody needs any help, would like to talk about it, just give me a holler. I'd be more than happy to help them any way I can.
We found there's a big difference between permanent and non-permanent structures as well. So when you're selecting your glamping accommodation site, that's always one thing to keep in mind too.
Is that your approval, your financing, Cameron?
Yeah, I mean, you can get better financing on permanent structures than you can non-permanent structures. So, you do fixture filings on non-permanent, but when it's attached to the ground, it's a lot easier to get financing.
Right.
Yeah, we
Cameron,
have
based on
for our wagons. People that do this are familiar with our product, and therefore, they're more likely to loan money against that collateral.
Right.
Sorry, go ahead, John.
Yeah, so Cameron, I was going to ask you a little bit when you're out looking at resorts that you're going to be purchasing and or adding to your profile. In my prior acquisition experience, we looked a lot at recurring revenue, and if you have recurring revenue and you've got a great business plan that shows that you can have that income on an annual basis or a seasonal basis, you're much more likely to attract an investor. And wondering what your thoughts are on that.
Well, we completely agree, and that's part of the reason why we enjoy combining the campground with the glamping accommodations, because the two of them can be leveraged off of each other, and the campground is a solid recurring revenue on a seasonal basis. That's our primary market, our seasonal guests, and it helps facilitate deals on the glamping side as well. The glamping industry, because it's so new, banks aren't very familiar with it. So it becomes very difficult to scale that up. And that's why we've kind of repositioned, kind of what we do to scale. So.
It also gives you access to a broader demographic, more range of market, right? I mean, anybody who doesn't own an RV is going to be far more likely to get in a campground because there's alternative accommodation there, right?
And what we've found is we'll get the guest that comes out glamping as a first-time experience. They get out there, they love it, they enjoy all the amenities and we're on the lake, and then they go home and they go buy an RV and they bring it out on a seasonal basis because they just enjoyed that outdoor experience so much that we're seeing guests transition from being a glamping customer into the campground side, which we really like too.
Yeah. I think from the folks who are looking for financing a campground and getting off the ground, one of the issues is going to be the infrastructure, and if the infrastructure is there, or if you're going to add structures, whether it's going to be wagons or yurts or teepees or tents or tiny cabins or globes, whatever it is that you can put on there. One of the questions will be is how you're going to finance the structures. And I think while it's not prominent yet, it will be soon that there'll be a revenue sharing model that comes out from folks like us that allow people to help you finance it through us and potentially share the revenue over time. And that's how you get the facility there.
It's not a bad idea. Yeah.
Yeah. Factoring type scenario, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's exciting.
That's a really good point. And recurring revenue also what can bring value to your company.
Sorry, you're fading out, just cutting out a little bit again, Dennis. I apologize.
Oh, I'm sorry. Is that better?
Is that
better?
Yep, that's better.
Okay. Well, I was just agreeing that the recurring revenue is a good thing to give your company value down the road, too. If there comes a time for an exit.
Yeah, I mean, there's tremendous value in recurring revenue, period. So, I mean, I've learned that kind of at my business with the marketing side of things. Just it's way better to have that consistency than it is to do the one-off and then have to constantly chase somebody new. So,
You bet. Yeah.
No.
Did we lose Mr. Quiggle? Did he leave?
Yes, we did.
He's
Well.
disappeared.
We'll see if Mr. Quiggle comes back. But in the meantime, should we let's invite Kurt on because he was chatting over there and he's expecting to be on. So we'll just let him replace Quiggle.
Yeah. So, but we have a question too in the chat here. If someone wanted to start with any of these glamping units, is there a perspective on minimum number that should be installed for critical mass? Any input on that from you guys?
That's interesting, right? Because obviously you guys are the experts here, but I've heard that about the hotel industry. Like Marriott won't franchise a hotel that has less than 70 rooms because it just doesn't make sense financially.
Right.
Sorry.
Cameron, you might be best.
Yeah,
placed.
sure. I got some really good thoughts on that. I think it really depends on the size and scale of your current operations as well, right? Because if you're looking at setting up just a straight glamping operation, we found you need at least 12 to make some reasonable returns. But if you're combining that with other operations as well, or it's a bit of a side hustle, it's a different scenario. So it really depends on your specific scenario, Margaret, on what is best. Our number is at least 12, but I mean we're gonna each one of our locations will have upwards of 48 units per location, for sure, at least that. So in time. Yeah. But different for everyone.
Yeah, it really is, right? Because you've got land acquisition costs, and if you own the land versus if you're going to start a new product and you're going to have to pay the land payments, that changes the whole portfolio. So, really based on your business plan and what the infrastructure costs are going to be versus the maintenance cost, and then what's the relative profit that you're trying to gain out of the enterprise.
It's a good point. I mean, we've got parks that we do marketing for that, can't call them, some of them are parks, I guess, but some aren't. But we've got a lady in Texas we just started working for as 1/10 on some land that she bought. So, it really depends on what your goal is, I guess, and your other costs and the ROI of it all.
Absolutely.
Yeah, you're trying to support a family of 4 that are going to work on the facility, or is it a multi-generational site where the grandparents, the parents, and the kids are all part of it, and that's the family income different infrastructure than somebody who has 25 employees and wants to run a 300 unit camp.
Yeah. Oh, definitely.
I guess I think Margaret followed up with another comment. She's really interested in the trade-up model. Well, if I have a campground and I wanted to shift some sites, I guess, are you seeing that where people are shifting sites to a glamping model? Is that becoming more popular?
I'm definitely seeing that with member campgrounds up here are adding glamping accommodations right on what previously was just a RV site or a campsite, and then enjoy kind of having the freedom to also move it around and make whatever changes, based on experience and how things go in a season or whatever is really great. But yeah, I have members purchasing all kinds of from tiny houses, tiny cabins to tents, outfitter tents, the wagons, all kinds of stuff is going in up here. And lots of them are starting small, right? They buy 1 or 2 units, and then the next year maybe add a couple more. But definitely seeing great occupancy rates and pricing, and doing some interesting stuff with dynamic pricing and all of that. So, but yeah, it's very fledgling here in Canada for sure.
Dennis, I muted you for a second just so you know. Like, I think the feedback was coming from your end, so just unmute and mute yourself if you want to talk.
Okay, is that any better?
Yes, that's a lot better, actually.
That's a lot better.
Okay. I think I had my wires crossed.
Uh-oh.
Okay.
That's okay. I did that too, and I'm supposed to be the tech geek guy that knows everything. So,
Yeah.
Jesse Morin on our Facebook page had a comment, I guess, and this question probably varies on the area that you're in and what you're offering, but what is a safe estimate for occupancy rate in the first year of the average for an occupancy rate that you would take into account in your? Here, I'll just read the comment. I'm murdering the question. What is a safe estimate of average of occupancy rate in the first year? This would take into account that your marketing plan needs time to take effect.
So are they asking? I mean, I think that they're asking what is the percentage of nights that you want to have filled to call it a success? Is that what?
I guess. Yeah, I don't.
I think that again. Go ahead, Karen.
I think it's very variable, depending on, tons of factors. Yeah. Location, your staffing capability. Like, do you have housekeeping staff on who's going to be cleaning these units, or are you just someone that's already on your team to do that stuff? What's your efficiencies like there? How quick can you turn around? There's a ton of factors, I think, that are going to impact occupancy rates. Your ability to market it well, if folks don't know that it's there, it's not going to rent as much maybe in the beginning. But I think, again, it's going to be different depending on the operator and the location and things like that.
Everything, just like John was saying. And I think I will point out, though, what she was saying, your marketing to ramp up, like, that's not really a thing anymore with the internet. And so if you've got somebody good who knows what they're doing, who can run Google ads and really put you out there to the places where people are searching the exact demographic you want, then there is still a ramp up period for awareness from a brand perspective, but not from an immediate booking if you're doing it right. Yeah,
conversions are happen really quick nowadays. I think marketing is a big part of it, especially I think the glamping kind of market, the consumers that want that product are a little bit different than your typical camper, your typical RVer, and they're consuming their data in different ways, I think.
Good example. Our year one, we were 82% occupied in year one with hardly any marketing at all. And in our year two, which we just finished up, we missed a couple of weeks, but we were 91%.
Nice.
So we need to scale up our number of units. We're low on that side right now, but we're gonna likely double or triple those come spring. So it'll really play out. So, but that's just an example.
Well, you guys are doing an excellent job. Then another thing I might throw out is back to the business plan and the execution of your plan. And if you can do it well, you can start your marketing well in advance of when you're going to open. And actually, get the word out, start your brand, start developing, even taking reservations prior. But you have to have your act together, and so everything kind of comes together at the when it should.
Recognize that you're not the marketing person necessarily. You might be the yurt person, or you might be the builder, or you might be like, we all have our skills and knowledge, right? So bring people in to complement.
Absolutely.
And don't try to be a jack of all trades in all things.
If we could just do our genius, if we could have an organization where everyone there was doing nothing but their genius, what they love, what they do best, I'll tell you, Katie, bar the door, because you can, but in small companies, like a lot of the parks are, you're wearing a lot of hats. It's difficult. And, that's amazing what people do. It really is.
I think the other thing we see is don't be afraid to share your knowledge and what you know, as we're talking about, and then also with the knowledge of somebody you can purchase to do these marketing functions for you. As an example, if I'm not a marketing person, I'm going to hire that out for a fraction of what it would cost to have a full-time person. Way better results than I'd give myself. If I've got a reservation system that might be in a book today, use the software. Make it simple. Find ways to do the things you do well. Hire those other services on a fractional basis.
You bet.
I think right now too, the marketing's, people are so, down here in the US at least this last year, they've just been so in love with the outdoors that, that also makes it easier, I would think, for some campgrounds and RV parks. I mean, it seems like the minute some of these developments come online, they're getting booked out before they even come online, just because the demand's there and people are looking for campgrounds and RV parks to stay at right now. So
I think that's what I mean when I say it really depends on location. There's certainly in Canada, there's parts of the country that are so underserved in terms of site inventory and camping inventory that just build some sites because they'll fill up, right?
Feel the dream.
Yeah, exactly.
If you build it, they will come.
Exactly. Yeah. So location is a big factor. I see Patrick in the comments here. He's actually a brand new member at CCRBC, but he's asking what the typical maintenance and CapEx costs involved in glamping. Also, what is typically included in glamping, linens, cleaning, etc.
Well, I think it varies park to park for sure. But at our resort, our first one, we supply all the linens, right? We do all the linens, all the cleaning. We have 300 count linens. We use ND mattresses, king size beds. So we really try to go up over and above, and then we charge a premium for that, obviously. So, and again, that comes right down to the experience. We have washrooms in every unit because we don't want them to be able to walk across the park and use a community washroom building, because they're paying for it, right? And they deserve it. So, from our perspective, that's really what we've delivered, but it depends on every park and their vision. And I think, the CapEx, I think I'll pass that on to the constructors over here that they have a better idea. So.
Yeah, Dennis, I'd be interested to see what you say, but we typically tell people it's twice the price of the structure depending on what you're building. So if you're building a $15,000 yurt, you might have a $30,000 CapEx by the time you're done.
Can you guys explain? I'm not, a developer. I guess what is a CapEx, just for people who may be watching that don't understand what he's talking about. So
let's let the finance guy take it.
Capital expenditure.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Okay.
Yeah. Capital. Do you include in your yurt what the comment you just made about a multiple? Can you elaborate on that just a little bit?
Well, I think we're looking at it. Let's say we have a $15,000 cost on the yurt itself, and then we're looking at what else you might be adding to it. Is that related to the bathrooms inside, the kitchen cabinets, the beds, the linens, and it's just a rough number that you stick out. Hey, it's twice the price of the base structure itself.
Well, I guess in our case, it's a little different because our units are totally self-contained, and it's basically, rolling them in, and there may be a little, whatever infrastructure that you would have, like sewer lines, water lines, and electric. Right. But that's really all there is, basically, for our wagons. So a little different.
Yeah, you guys provide a full unit that pulls up. We tend to do the structure and then allow folks to customize them inside. to whatever fits their park. If you've got a place in your RV park that you can't pull a unit into, it might be a great place to put a yurt back in the trees, and you're going to have a different infrastructure cost for that.
Absolutely.
And you can do tents as low as $5 to $10,000, and you can do units as high as 100 or 120. It really depends on where you see your market, what kind of customers you have, and what experience you want to deliver on. And but it can range a ton, right? So.
Yeah, and I think we're seeing that, Cameron. That's why people change their site. They start off small with tents, RV units, and then they start moving to more expensive structures as they start to build out their occupancy.
If you guys look at supply and demand, as we continue to see glamping increase in popularity and more people add these to their parks and things like that, do you see the cost of the structures coming down over time, or?
For us, I don't think so, based on the other uses of the products.
Okay.
Wood, right now, those products are expensive, and our wood futures are finally coming down, but the winter was miserable. And, our prices went up 30% in a 60-day period. Now they're coming back down again. I'm not sure if you see the same thing, Dennis.
Well, of course, lumber is our main raw material as for the wagon itself. The structure itself, and lumber has gone up a lot. Give you an example: 20-foot 2x6 Douglas fir board that used to be $20 is now like $35.
Right.
So, and the industry doesn't, from what I can tell and from talking to our suppliers, they really don't see any like end in sight. So it's been caused, according to them, by of course the COVID pandemic. You go to like we put windows in some of our wagons. Windows have gotten a little bit hard to get. You go to Home Depot or somewhere, you can't get this, you can't get that, because there's so many projects going on from people being at home. Also, the fires had some effect on the lumber prices, because in some areas they even had to close the mills temporarily because of the smoke. So there's been a number of factors, but I think as volume increases in a manufacturing operation, you can reduce costs, but and maybe we can all do that to some degree, but it's probably going to stay pretty stable.
Well, yeah,
like everything else.
I was thinking of a 10-year window, right? Not immediate near term is what my kind of,
maybe 10 years out. I think the technology is going to improve and the products are going to change. Maybe how we build the structures today are one way, but we'll be able to build them differently in the future with the different mills and the fabrics and things like that. Might change the width of fabric that'll make it more efficient for us to make things. I think the one challenge I see is supply chain issues, whether it's lumber, whether it's windows, whether it's fabrics, getting stuff to the U.S., getting it available for next summer. My biggest advice, order early. Our schedules are getting booked. We're booked all the way into January right now, and this is supposed to be our off season.
Okay.
It's going to be hard to find product.
Yeah, definitely. Dennis, I have a question for you. I didn't know they had windows in the original wagons. So did Pioneers have curtains and stuff around the windows, or?
Well, Ben, were you there? Do you know this for a fact?
I don't know.
I mean, that's a lot of assumptions you're making based off what history books, like some sketches. I mean, I feel like they could have been there.
Well, I think they probably had windows, but not quite like these windows. But our goal has been to make these wagons look as authentic as possible, and then when you go in, it's a different experience, and to make them comfortable, and be able to be comfortable in different climates and different weather conditions. That we've kind of gravitated to that, and so we insulate now. We have a new insulated top that we've just announced and brought to the market. So anyway, the windows, they're nice.
So I think we had another question on Facebook about density. What density do you recommend for units? I have to imagine that's also based on like what you're working with and what the units are and where you're located, right?
What your goals are too, yeah. Do you want dense, or do you want to make more money? You want to spread out and have more luxury and charge more?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, you're on 2.5 acres or 1,000, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think shifting to. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
Your infrastructure cost is going to increase.
Yeah.
You have to run more pipe, more wire, all that stuff, more distance, more roads, more land. So, like you said, you have to charge more to offset it. So it depends on what you want to do.
How hard would it be to put one of these units totally off grid? Like obviously at a campground, but just off grid so you didn't have to do all this extra work.
Well, all these units can be powered with solar panels.
Right. Which is the easy part.
Yeah, that's the easy part. The composting toilets work, well. Some tanks for the toilets can be used and then cleaned out occasionally. It can be done. The air conditioning's a little tough, but
they didn't have those in the wagons then.
Well, they didn't have it anyway. Yeah.
Well, and I think you look at the yurts and tents and people using those off grid is pretty common. And so, the infrastructure of power you can handle with solar. The toilet's obviously an issue that you got to work on for composting or whether or not you have another situation. And then water. Water's the biggest thing when you're off grid and whether or not you have access to water. And, we've got another company here in Montrose that we work with, Geyser Systems, that does a very small volume hot water shower. And so lots of ways to minimize your footprint and be able to do it in a place that maybe in the past it'd be pretty uncomfortable.
I mean, a lot of this would be solved if you guys just all had wagons, because obviously they're expecting the experience, right? Of going down the river with a bucket and getting the water and bringing it back up to camp.
Exactly.
So
I don't know if we have an insurance person that's watching, but one of the questions was about insurance. What's insuring like a yurt or a wagon? What's the insurance process of insuring a glamping unit? Do you guys field those types of questions from prospective clients?
Yes, we do. And it's difficult. The permanent structure is helpful. When it's a temporary structure, it's going to be more difficult. Mm-hmm. So anything you can do to get it permitted through the zoning helps you get the insurance.
Okay. Right. Cameron, I guess, I know you're up in Canada, but I guess what's the insurance been like on the yurts and tents and things that you guys offer?
I was really surprised when we first went in. We didn't have any issues at all getting insurance, and our primary structure today is domes. So their permanent structure, they got an insulation package and a PVC covering, and we had zero issues getting insurance package for it. So, which kind of surprised me when we were doing it. So,
Dennis, is it more for you, Dennis, because the wagon can roll down the hill, or?
Well, I don't really know. I guess I really can't answer the question of the rates and how they would compare to the different units. But, wagons generally can be considered equipment, and they're a temporary thing. They can be considered as equipment for a tax write-off. And therefore, if a company has equipment, that normally can be insured pretty easily. So we haven't really seen that to be a problem. So
sorry,
there is an advantage.
I was giving you all the perks, Dennis. I had to give you one negative for the wagon going down.
Yeah. Well, appreciate. We got to deal with all of it, right? There's pros and cons to everything. Yeah.
I would imagine that if you went to a specific insurance group that has experience within the outdoor hospitality industry, I have a couple come to mind, but that they would probably be able to answer that question and really help you out in that end. If you get somebody, an insurance agent who's pretty experienced in the campground, RV park, glamping sectors. So, I do know we had a few maintenance questions. I think Jason Higbee, who CEO of Outstanding Tents, is on. He mentioned staffing. I know on the cleaning part, when you're running a glamping park, I imagine you have to have maybe more staffing than if you just have, RV sites. You have to keep them clean. I guess, Cameron, what's that been like at the resort you operate this year?
Yeah, well, we run about one cleaning staff per 6 units. Is kind of our ratio. To give a bit of time off and such. If for what we have at our resort, if we didn't have glamping, it'd just be a couple hours or an hour a day maybe. So it is significantly more cleaning. There is more overhead, but you're not charging $40 or $50 a night either on the revenue side. So there's a direct return there for it. So
yeah.
Especially with COVID, I mean, you got to ramp that up, right? So,
Yeah, and I think that's one of the things that, for RV park and campground owners I've spoken with this year is just that, they've really been having to make those extra efforts due to COVID, for their glamping accommodations, and they've also been working with less staffing. They just haven't been able to find people to come help them. So it's been kind of a crazy year. I would imagine just making sure you're prepared for that if you're going to do any glamping section or start a glamping park is important. So, especially if you're going to provide your own linens and things like that, I guess, right? I mean, if people bring their own linens, you don't have to worry about it. But if you provide it, then that's another thing you have to worry about, I guess. So,
yeah, absolutely, for sure.
All right, so I want to flip this conversation around and make it a little challenging on you guys because we've given you a bunch of softballs so far, right? Let me ask you, give me an example of why a park owner would not want to add glamping to their park. Whether that's a location thing or whether it's a finance thing or whether it's insurance or whatever. I'm not saying product specific against your product, but just as glamping as a whole in general.
I think on my side, it's the added overhead, right? If there's one reason why you wouldn't, I would say it's the extra staffing. That's likely going to be the biggest challenge. But other than that, obviously we're in the industry, so it's a bit more difficult. But we think it's great. So I don't know if John and Dennis have any other comments at all.
So do I, to be clear. That's why I think this is a hard question. So
it is. It's a very hard question.
So I think I'd say you're right on. It's work. It's a different kind of work. If I've just got a park where people pull up and park and they leave and I maintain their site and they go away, that's a different model than creating experience for people. You're not setting up a yurt with or a tent or a teepee with custom furnishings, or you're not putting wagons together where you have this really amazing experience. They bring the experience with them if it's an RV only park. We create the experience with the structures that we put out otherwise. And that allows you to add additional income because you can support all of the things they might need with those other structures. So the challenge is the work, and people's the problem. If you don't have the people to do the work, I'd think about that. That's a hard place to be.
I think Jason makes a really good comment too on the seasonality. But to offset that, if you look at a hotel and the capital cost per room and their occupancy rates and compare that to glamping, personally ourselves, we're okay with the seasonality. We've built our business around knowing that it's that. And from a return on investment and capital infrastructure perspective, it still makes a lot of sense. But, I could see some people being concerned about that too, I guess. Yeah.
But they also build ice hotels, right? So there could be ice wagons during the winter and all kinds of things.
Well,
they're using glamping units in the wintertime, specifically around ski resorts and things like that. So, there's winter usage happening here in Canada for sure.
Yep.
I think John can speak to this. I know the yurts, you guys make snow or rated yurts, right? For snow loads and stuff?
We do, yeah. We have fully engineered products. So if you give us the specifications of where you're at, we can build a yurt to match it. Yeah, we have them at all kinds of ski resorts and backcountry ski huts. People using them as warming huts for events that they have through the winter time. The restaurant industry right now is using yurts and teepees and tents and as a way for outdoor seating and things like that.
Can you ice fish inside them?
Pardon me?
Can you do ice fishing inside them?
You can. You can actually put it on a deck and slide it out there.
Nice.
You could put a wagon on wheels too, slide it out there.
Whenever I think of ice fishing, like I don't know if you guys have seen this, but did you ever see that movie Grumpy Old Men?
Yeah.
Yeah. When I think of ice fishing, that's what I think is them arguing in that thing. Yeah. So.
Have you been ice fishing, Brian? Have you been ice fishing?
I've never been ice fishing, no, but I would definitely do it in a yurt.
It's exactly like that. The arguing and the freezing.
Yep.
It's exactly like that.
Nice.
You're coming up to Michigan this year, Brian, and I'm gonna take you ice fishing.
Michigan.
We'll be socially distanced ice fishing.
If I'm gonna do ice fishing, I'm going to do it right.
Hey, that sounds fun to me. I'll tell you what, I just thought of something. The park sets the wagons on the shore in the summer and pulls them out on the ice in the winter.
Yeah. Perfect.
But
Whatever.
then
Trap door.
But then you always
there
have those people that extend their stay on the lakes too long, and then you'll come out and the wagon will be half in the water and half out.
Yeah.
Well, that's what insurance is for. We already covered that.
Insurance companies a heyday.
Somebody
asked
asked
with a yurt too. Just put it on skids and pull it around.
Yeah.
Unsolved.
Well, they've got the RVs. Like I've seen the RVs where the wheels turn into boats. Like they turn sideways and then they float too. So I feel like a wagon could do that, right? You have like a remote button that just turns it into a boat.
Well, if
you should patent
one of these days we don't have anything else to do. Maybe we'll design one of those.
well, if you ever played the Oregon Trail, that video game, they supposedly take the wheels off and you can float them across the river in the game. So maybe we should try that. Brian, we should have an episode where we try that.
The Old West comes from is the Oregon Trail game when I was
Yep.
Dating us.
Yep, that's the source. So we did have one question from Heather Blankenship, just on the canvas. I know, John, I believe you use some type of canvas on the outside of your yurts, and I imagine you too, Dennis. I guess she was just wondering about cleaning and making sure that stays, nice. I guess she had some issues with moss or mildew or whatever on the outside of her unit. She's located in Tennessee, I guess. What do you guys tell people on how to maintain the outside with the canvas?
Yeah, so our yurts are actually different products, but we don't use canvas on the yurts itself. We'd use canvas on the tents and the teepees.
Okay.
The key is keeping it as clean as you can and giving some airflow. That's the biggest thing from the molding thing. And then we've got a list of products on our website that you can grab that we would recommend to clean the surface, but not necessarily disintegrate the fabric. Dennis, how about you guys?
Well, we have a couple of fabrics that we use. We use the standard canvas. It's what they call a Sunforger treated canvas. UV has some UV protection and some mildew resistance in it. However, it is cotton, and it's kind of porous a little bit, and the dirt kind of gets stuck in the pores, and it's really hard to clean it. But keeping them dry as you can and getting airflow to them. We use another fabric that's more of a synthetic fabric that's less prone to some of those kind of issues. So depending on where the wagon is and where it's going to be used, we recommend a little bit different cover over the wagon.
Okay.
And it's also important to recognize too, when you're looking at getting some of these structures, that maybe, Dennis, you could tell me that the outside of that wagon isn't designed to last forever. Is there a point down the line where they're going to have to consider replacing just the canvas or the material that goes around the outside of the wagon?
Well, I suppose it's not unlike a tent or anything that's made out of canvas or fabric in general, but the fabrics, it depends on the environment that you're in, but the wagon itself, probably as a yurt or a tent structure, is going to last forever, pretty much. I mean, for all practical purposes. But the fabrics, and it depends too on how nice you want them to look. Some people like to see them weathered, and kind of look old and let the wood weather. Others would rather have them, try to keep them looking brand new all the time. And so I would say, I don't know what you guys think, but 5 to 7 years, maybe 8 years, for the fabric. So
it really depends on the exposure.
Yeah,
it depends on the exposure. And for tents, we might put a synthetic rain fly over the top of it. It'll protect the canvas for a longer. You can still get the canvas look without having to worry about the photo degradation on it. The mold is an issue in any of those hot, humid climates. So anytime you can roll up the walls or do other things to allow the air to get through them is going to protect the canvas. And seasonally, if you're not using them over the wintertime, if it's possible to take them down and store them, then it's a much better way to extend the life.
Cameron, I guess, what do you do at your park to kind of maintain your tents and different things?
Well, we have domes right now as kind of our primary. So it's a PVC covering, so it requires zero treatment. So
yeah.
We are moving more towards a tent model as well. We're going to have tree houses too. So, but today we're 100% domes. So.
Somebody asked where you bought the domes. So where do you buy your domes?
Well, there's plenty of different suppliers. There's a couple in the U.S. There's some in Europe. F Domes is a good one. Pacific Domes is a good one. So it's it just really depends on shipping and access and where you're at and the best point of contact. I mean, if you're in the U.S. ordering from Europe, it'd be likely more expensive, I would assume. But
some of the domes are really neat. Like I see some of them in really good stargazing locations, and they seem to do really well in areas where you've got these really great like panoramic views, or you want to see the night sky. I mean, it's clear and it's a really neat option. Some of them are. So
yeah, and you can get them a lot. I mean, like a yurt, you got a little skylight, but on the domes you can get them with a complete transparent top if you want.
Yeah.
We chose against that. We went more with the bigger window on the front for the view out the front, but it's all customizable to what you want, your location, and that's really the biggest thing when you're starting out. If you're going to convert a campground or start a glamping resort, majority of our time was spent on determining what structures to start with, right? And not even just the structure, but then you get down to the nitty gritty of do I want it to be this color or that color? Do I want this or want that? And there's just several different options, right?
Can we put domes underwater?
Sorry?
Can we put domes underwater with all the glass so we can see the
I don't
fish?
know. It'd be neat if you could. I'm not sure.
I feel like it would be a unique attraction. You could probably charge extra for it.
For sure.
Yeah. You'd have
Sounds like Brian needs to be on a product development team somewhere.
Listen, I keep trying to get a job through these shows and nobody's hired me yet. So you should have seen the insurance one. I had all the liability issues covered for them.
Yeah, he's a thinker. We'll give him that. So I know we have Jason Higbee waiting in the wings. Brian, he's with Outstanding Tent, so he tackles tent manufacturing. I didn't know if we could bring him on or not.
Well, you got to choose who we take off if we do that.
I know, it's so hard. We're only allowed to have 3 extra guests on. So I don't know.
About I hate to do this, but if Jason's in the tent world, I'd love to give him a chance to speak, and really appreciate you guys bringing us on this morning. And great to meet the other speakers here this morning. You guys have a great winter season and look forward to a great season for 2021.
John, listen.
Nice to meet you, John. Nice to meet you too.
Before you go and we bring on Jason, all you guys, I feel like there's been a ton of value and information shared here.
Yeah.
And I'd love to see you guys and maybe I'm overstepping here a little bit. Kara can yell at me, but I'd love to see you guys do some kind of a session or a panel at our Canadian Hospitality Conference that we have coming up in January to kind of share your knowledge if you guys want to participate.
I will.
That'd be great.
I'll reach out via email later today.
Okay.
Sounds
Thanks,
great.
John. I'll see you.
All right, guys. Thank you very much, guys. Thank you for having me.
Thanks, John.
All right, Jason, we're bringing on Jason Higbee.
Yeah. Jason's been commenting. So, Outstanding Tents is a newer tent company. I think Brian, you saw them at the glamping show last year. When we were at the glamping show, they had that huge tent there. if you remember correctly, inside.
Oh,
Yeah, they
yeah.
were right inside by the where they were doing all the speeches.
Okay. Yeah. Were you there, Cameron?
Yeah, I was. Yeah.
Okay. Well, we probably ran into each other and didn't even know.
Yeah,
So,
it was a great.
Yeah, I was there.
Really enjoyed it.
That was the last day, and then it was. But other than that, yeah.
Yeah.
hopefully Jason's still on. Oh, there he is. There's Jason. So,
Right. Can everybody hear me?
Yeah.
Look at his fancy background.
Yeah.
Like Quiggle.
Hey,
What is that? Like a sound booth?
Oh, it just reduces the echo. Yeah, we
Wow.
put quite a bit into all of our kind of virtualization of all of our business goings on now that we are pretty much doing everything remotely.
So good.
Well, yeah. Yeah.
oh, cool.
Well, Jason, thanks for waiting so long to come on. Thanks for commenting and watching. Maybe just tell us a little bit. I know your company was originated in the Netherlands or Sweden, correct?
In the Netherlands, yes, that's right.
Okay. And you offer tents. So just give us a rundown of real quick about the company.
Yeah, definitely. Well, thanks for making room for me, and it was great to hear everyone's kind of insights about the market. Definitely miss everyone from in person. We didn't get together in Denver or Tennessee like we did last year. This has been kind of a strange year. So we're a manufacturer of glamping tents. We've been in the industry just over 6 years. Based in the Netherlands, we do stuff in about 50 countries and have really had a great run in Europe. And the U.S. has really just taken off. So I think it's going to be really interesting to see how the U.S. market evolves. And I think that there's so much to learn from what's gone on in the rest of the world as these other kind of glamping has evolved. The word is definitely not an American word. I think we can learn a lot from kind of looking overseas and seeing how these markets evolved and just follow what the what customers do and what the demand curves here are like.
Jason, are you in Canada too, or just get that out of the way since Kara's from Canada, and so is Cameron?
Yeah. I live just outside San Francisco, actually. So we right now I'm kind of serving all of North America, but our hope is to find some great partners up in Canada and down south to help us serve our customers here.
Cool.
And for, people who are new to the glamping or the camping world, there's different types of tents. So like, I think we had tried to get Kurt on earlier. He offers a tent product. Jason's tents are a little bit more meatier, I think, than maybe Kurt's tents. You have bigger logs, I think, maybe than what I've seen Montana Canvas offer, maybe. But I guess your tents are huge. So we're looking at like multiple room tents with you, right?
Yeah, Kurt makes a fantastic product.
Yeah.
I would say we're definitely not kind of in an adjacent category. Our tents are a little bit more permanent. We call them, semi-permanent structures. Typically, people are going in, not installing a permanent structure. So as far as finance goes, you're looking at equipment loans, not real estate loans for our tents. We do multi-room tents and multi-level tents. A lot of Europe will do upstairs. You have a loft upstairs, so you throw all the kids upstairs and get a couple of bedrooms and up to 3 bathrooms in a tent. It's pretty amazing. It's basically like a little house.
Like, can you just share your screen and show us one of these? Like, I'm sorry to everybody else I didn't ask to see their things, but that sounds super cool. Can I just see one?
Yeah, let's see. I've got a 4K screen here.
And all of the other people can share their things too, but sorry.
Yeah, and we'll be putting links. I can't really do it right now on Facebook. I can't for some reason, but I'll be putting links to everybody's, the companies that are on here, and so that people can click around and look at some of the products we've talked about here today. So.
Yeah, it looks like I can't share it without replacing a tile. So I'll happily provide any links or any other information. But I think all of us should definitely be providing a lot more just kind of imagery and inspiring information out there, because especially in the U.S., it seems like glamping is just taking off. People have not figured out how to make this work. We got a bunch of people on the market here that are inspired and have seen some great stuff, and a whole bunch of people listening that don't know fully what's possible. And it's amazing what's out there. And some of your guys' installations, Planescraft, I've seen a couple of your installations. They're just fantastic when they're out in the field.
And it's such in its infancy. Like, it's even from a marketing standpoint. Like, I've dealt with a couple campgrounds we work with that are adding these units, and the people still aren't searching for glamping in Google.
Yeah.
What we're finding is that we can target people who are searching for cabins and convert those people into glamping.
Yeah.
And so it's so young and so new that the sky is the limit where this thing can go.
Yeah, it really is. It's really interesting. I think, a couple of, years ago when people first started taking a look at glamping, they had the canvas tents and some different things. And now we're just seeing this explosion of different accommodate. People are trying to come up with new accommodate. We've got shipping containers that are being used to make cabins out of now. I mean, they're literally looking everywhere to make a lodging unit out of anything. So it's really great. We have these awesome tree houses. Pretty soon, I think we'll probably have, trees carved out or something, like we'll be staying in trees. I don't know how that would work, but they do it on that Elbler cookie commercial. So maybe we'll have something like that.
This is the fantastic, exciting thing about glamping, though, is because it doesn't end.
Yeah.
It's really up to your imagination. And I know I've talked with Jason a ton, and we're looking at utilizing some of his tents to do some really unique things. And but it's all imagination, and everybody can provide a different experience because of it. And that's what's so exciting about this industry, right?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Also, glamping, so hospitality in general is an aspirational product.
Mm-hmm.
With hospitality, you want to provide something that's nicer than what someone has at home. It's just like when you go rent a car. If you go rent a car and the car that you get is worse than the car you drive, it's how could this happen to me? It doesn't really matter. It still gets you around. But all of it, same thing with a hotel room. It's got to be nicer than my house.
Mm-hmm.
So glamping is this interesting blend of both hospitality. You still have to have that, but then there's also the art side. And with art, art is all about limitation. What are you not providing in what you're putting out there? So I think that's the fun thing with glamping, is that it's this blend of both the hospitality. You have to provide some things that you just don't get at home, and maybe that's the outside environment. But you also have to have a few things that you take away. And with that kind of product market fit of, do you have restrooms? Do you have a kitchen? You always need to have a couple things you take away. Otherwise, it's not glamping. It's just a hotel. Yeah. I'd be curious what you think of that kind of blend and how you find it.
Yeah, we agree for sure. That's why we're doing what we're doing. And again, it brings me right back to the start where I said glamping isn't necessarily about the product. It's about the experience. And you're utilizing the products to create those experiences, and that tees right into exactly what Jason was talking about. So I know that's our core focus, and promises within our organization for sure.
I think that the experience is huge, and then I think at the next level, it's a happy customer.
Yeah. So
if you think about that for a minute, it's given an experience, but it's doing it in a way that when they leave, that they are amazed at every aspect of what they just experienced. From the structures, from the services, all those kind of things. It's just like a big like you guys compared it to a luxury motel. And there are glamping customers that don't require all that, and there's a whole breadth of customers, which makes this whole thing even more fun. But it's like you guys said, it's just amazing how far this can go, and how our imaginations can go wild with this stuff. And that's what makes it really fun. And to see the look on people's faces when they experience our products, our tents and yurts and wagons, that's what makes it fun for me. It's just amazing. So,
yeah, and the potential for the campground and RV park sector to maybe get some of these people that wouldn't normally, they don't have an RV, or they don't want to stay in a tent. but they normally stay in hotels, but normally capture some of those people and bring them into the industry and get them outdoors. It's really great for some RV parks and campgrounds. They can set up some of these unique glamping areas, and now they're serving the RV crowd, the tent crowd, and they're also able to bring in some of these people who would traditionally stay in hotels. Yeah. And so it's a great potential down the road just to be able to increase that customer base. So,
yeah.
So, and create like memories. I mean, just some of the pictures that you see from some of these glamping resorts or, glamping additions to campgrounds, you're creating really great memories. And, these kids who stay at these parks are going to want to keep coming back, and they'll come back with their kids. So it's really just a great opportunity. So.
Absolutely.
I guess, Jason, we did talk a little bit about the canvas portion of the tent. I guess, what's that like for you as far as maintaining and keeping your tents looking great, I guess?
It's such an interesting balance because and that's been kind of actually how we became a company was first sourcing materials in tents that were made by companies that made a decent product, but it just didn't work for glamping. So we finally kind of evolved to the point where our tents, we use a double roof. So we actually have an inner tent, which itself is water resistant and could be an outer roof layer, but just isn't going to wear very well with the direct sun. And so we finally settled. We have an outer tent that is a polyester with a PVC coating on it. And on the inner tent, we have a 50-50 cotton polyester material that that works quite well for us, actually. So with that, so far we have tents that are out there for about 6-7 years, some in the highest UV indexes in Spain that still look just about brand new on that outer tent. So that's been impressive with the materials and what you can get out there. As far as how long will these things last, I think that a lot of the material producers are still waiting to see because this market hasn't evolved and hasn't been around long enough for us to be able to really see how long our products last. We're estimating maybe 8 to 10 years before those outer tents are going to need replacing and refreshing.
Okay. Yeah. And that's just something, I guess, when you work with these types of products, when you're looking at that business plan, that's just something you got to keep in the back of your head and, keep track of and realize that.
Unless you're Dennis. Dennis said his lasts forever.
Yeah. Well, the canvas shell didn't last forever, though.
Not the canvas.
So, that you're going to have to replace the canvas. I don't know how expensive that is, but it's just something you'll want to keep in mind that, hey, 8 to 10 years from now, I am going to have to replace this. So,
Jason, in 8 to 10 years, you're talking about just replacing the PVC fly, right?
Yeah, that's correct. And it definitely is nice. I think all of us have products where you can replace those individual pieces. So if you're in a place where you get more tree sap than other people, or you've got people that are just tearing up your accommodations from parties or something like that, it's really nice to be able to replace those pieces. And I think for campground owners, it's good to include in your budget, just like you would a hotel. A hotel, you're going to refresh every 3 to 5 years. These are going to refresh every 5 to 7 years, probably.
Now, what if you want to create a party resort where you invite people to damage them on purpose? Is there like a cheaper material you could provide?
What the freak?
We'll see a Burning Man next year.
This is an underserved market here. Like everybody I talk to wants to avoid the partiers, but they've got to go somewhere.
There you go, Brian. You can create the first party campground.
I'm just saying. I mean, there's clearly a market out here for this stuff. So.
Yep. So, we talked a little bit about the cost of the product, Jason. I guess what's the lumber been like for you? I mean, you use huge round pieces of lumber, right, for the tents?
Yeah, so most of our products, we ship everything out of the Netherlands. Our headquarters and warehouses are there. We ship out of Rotterdam, which is one of the most connected ports in the world. Mm-hmm. Because of where we're at in Europe, we have so many. So many countries are within 2-hour drive of our headquarters. We don't have the same kind of logistics, market, shipping issues that we see in the U.S. We definitely have our own set of challenges there, but we also have a lot more diverse range of sources to pull from. So we really haven't seen those fluctuations. And it's been very frustrating watching U.S. wood prices they move around like gas prices. A lot of it doesn't make any sense. But yeah, luckily we haven't been impacted by that. Also, global logistics, somehow through COVID, have really not been impacted that much, and things seem to still be running pretty smoothly. On the production side, that's definitely tricky, and yeah, everything takes a little longer than it used to, and you should plan on things taking 20 to 30% longer than anybody expects, because something always comes up.
Yeah, definitely. Planning is key. I mean, I think, even in the RV industry right now, they're having such a difficult time getting these RVs made, and the backlogs are out so far. People are having to wait for their RVs, and dealerships can't keep them on their lot. So it's the same thing with the glamping sector. It sounds like, you got to order early if you want the product in your park. If you wait till April to order something and you're hoping to put it in your park for this coming summer, it's probably not going to work too well. So, I don't know. Brian, did you have any other questions? Any other topics you wanted to talk about?
No, I think that was a really good show. It covered a lot of different stuff. And I feel like, again, just to reinforce, like, all of you have so much knowledge to share. And so we need a second show, but we definitely need the session as the conference. We need to involve you guys as much as possible. Because again, this is just in its infancy. And so the more that we talk about it, the more we engage with consumers as well as park owners, the more that this drives innovation. And it's all a huge circle, right? It benefits everybody. So
Definitely.
Yeah, we're definitely going to have to come up with another way to tackle glamping, because I think this is the most comments we've had on Facebook since we started the show. And I think we got a lot of people active here on Crowdcast too. So so it's great to see everyone actually wanting to listen to me and Brian talk. So that doesn't happen a lot. So
they always wanted to listen to you, Ben. It was just me they were avoiding. So
usually people just tune in for Kara. She's the better of the three. So
Well, thank you to all of you listening.
So but thanks, Dennis, for coming on. Thanks, Cameron. Thanks, John, if you're still listening. Thanks, Jason, for waiting and being patient and being able to come on here for the last 20 minutes or so. It was great seeing you, Brian and Kara, again. And thanks, everyone, for watching. And we hope you have a good week and have a good, prosperous week. So
take care, guys. Appreciate it.
All right. See y'all.
You as well.
Bye-bye.
Have a good one.